Well, hey, welcome back. Today I'm starting a series of videos about hot tips for raising capital. And today we're going to be talking about tip number one, how you show up, your personal appearance. So when it comes to raising capital, first impressions make a big difference. How you show up, how people see you physically when they first meet you is going to have a big effect on whether or not they want to invest with you. So today, let's kind of unwrap that and give you some tips and ideas on how to maximize your personal appearance. All right, so I've just written a new book, an ebook. It's called Be Seen to Get the Green, and I'll let you know about that at the end. But this is where this topic comes from, which is making a good first impression with your appearance. So, whether it's right or wrong, we do judge books by their cover, right? So we aren't all blessed with the ravaging good looks, wit, and humor of Brad Pitt and myself. Okay, well, maybe Brad, maybe not me, but you know what I mean. But we can do the most with what we've got. And making that good first impression is very important, especially when it comes to us as real estate investors looking to raise capital. So I remember years ago, I was working with a Canadian real estate guru, kind of the Canadian version of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and we would do events and seminars across the country. We get 300 people, up to 1,000 people out for one of these events and teach them about business and real estate investing and all that kind of good stuff. And one of the things that the guru did is he would ask at the beginning of the event, okay, put up your hand if you are an active real estate investor. And a whole bunch of people would put up their hand. And then he would pick two people from the audience. And he always picked two distinct kinds of people. He picked one person who was very well dressed and another person who was not very well dressed, usually kind of slobbily dressed. And he'd bring them up on stage and he would tell the whole crowd, he'd say, hey, based on what you see, who would you be more likely to have a conversation with about investing? And he'd point to the sloppily dressed person and one or two sympathy hands would go up and not much else, usually the guy's wife or something like that. And then he'd point to the well-dressed person and all of the hands would go up. All right, and that's just human nature. Is this right? Is it the way things should be? Shouldn't we really be focusing on people from the inside out? Yes, of course we should, but we don't. We're human beings. We're visual creatures, so we put a lot of emphasis on what we see. So you can either be ticked off about that, you can either rile up against the system, or you can work with it and make it work for you even better. Another great example of this was years ago, we actually did go to a Rich Dad event. We went to see Robert Kiyosaki in Scottsdale. And at that time, the whole makeover thing was really popular. You remember those makeover shows where they take somebody that was a slob and turn them into a gorgeous creature? Well, that was the rage at that time. And there were a whole group of us from Canada who went down to watch this event. And one of the guys there was kind of a little bit on the casual side, let's say, all right? And Robert Kiyosaki did this thing where he said, okay, hey, who wants to volunteer for a makeover? And this guy was brave and he volunteered for it. He said, okay, well, that's great. Here's the deal. We got the makeover guy, but the deal is you have to do everything that this guy tells you you have to do, and you have to pay for it. Whatever he tells you to do when it comes to your hair, your glasses, your styling, you have to do it. Whatever it comes to your personal appearance, whatever he tells you to buy for clothes, you have to do it. So the guy went, oh, okay. And he did. And the difference from one day to the next was absolutely mind-boggling. In fact, if we can get the technology to work, I'll show you the before and after pictures of the gentleman here. But the bottom line is, it was one day between the before picture and the after picture. And when the guy came up the next day, I knew this gentleman quite well. Nobody recognized him. His wife was the only person that recognized him, right? I did not recognize this guy. It was such a complete transformation. I remember him walking by me and him going up on stage. And I thought, oh, they must have a new speaker here, maybe an unannounced guest expert or something like that. And then they put up his before picture on the big screen, and there he was standing there live and vivid Technicolor, and it was absolutely mind-boggling. Had anything changed inside the guy in those 24 hours? No. Same guy, same experience, same number of doors, same background. But I tell you what, when he stood up there, not only did he stand a little bit taller because he felt like $1 million, he looked like $1 million, but he made a huge impact. And that's exactly what Kiyosaki pointed out. He said, hey, here's how he looked yesterday. Here's how he looks today. Who would feel more comfortable doing business with this guy now? And everybody's hands went up. So again, it is what it is. We can just kind of be ticked off about it, or we can use it to our advantage. So myself, I like to dress casually. As you can see, I like to wear a t-shirt. I don't, I'm doing most of my stuff is online, is podcasting and whatnot. But I do have a trick. And I just shared this with a fellow podcaster the other day, and he went, yeah, that's really smart. So here's my trick. You want to wear clothes that you're comfortable in, that you can turn into semi-formal pretty quickly. So my trick is, if I need to be kind of semi-formal, I've got a blazer close by. I'll just put this on live and in person. Got a blazer close by. I just slap this on, and voila. If I'm doing the podcast, if I'm meeting with somebody, if I'm being interviewed as a guest, I'll put this on. Voila. Instantaneous, stepping things up a couple of notches. And here's the big trick. These days, we've gone so far to the casual side since the pandemic and casual Fridays and all this kind of stuff. Most people, including professionals, have become pretty sloppy. So if you dress up, you're going to stand out, and you're going to make even more of a great first impression. Now, you don't have to go overboard and do the whole suit and tie and vest and that kind of thing, but look business casual, look sharp. It's going to show your prospective investor that you respect them. It's going to get you respect back from them as well. So always remember that. It's important to put your best foot forward when you're meeting with people. Do your best to leave a good first impression. Like they say, you don't get a second chance for that. Now, if you're interested in finding out more about this, if you like the idea of learning some more capital tips and tricks, I've got a couple of ideas for you. First thing is, I've got this new book. It's called Be Seen to Get the Green. Should have an image of it up there. You can just get your free copy of that. I'll trade it to you for your name and your email address. Just click on the link that's in the description below. Now, another opportunity I have for you to gain more exposure is to be a guest on my podcast. I'd love to interview everyday real estate investors, and I'd love to have you on my show. You can check that out and book your time at daveinterviewyou.com. All right, till next time, take care and go out there and start raising some capital.